Shop the Sherwin-Williams Labor Day sale and get 35% off paints and stains August 22nd through September 4th. With prices starting at $31.84, it's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your interior or exterior, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store or shop the sale online. Delivery available on qualifying orders. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Welcome back to Women Making Moves, where we celebrate the moves that women are making. My name is Amy Pons, founder of Unlock the Magic Coaching and Healing. I'm joined today with Shulamit Berlatov. Shulamit, known as the Entrepreneur's Therapist, is a culture change catalyst, speaking and educating at the intersection of mental health and entrepreneurship. She also supports women business owners who want to preserve their peace of mind as they ride the emotional roller coaster of running a business. Shulamit has been an entrepreneur for over 30 years and has more than 24 years of professional experience supporting women's mental health and personal growth. She speaks, teaches, and consults in entrepreneurship programs and conferences locally, nationally, and internationally. As an award-winning entrepreneur, master's level licensed trauma therapist, and trauma survivor, with certifications in the trauma of money, financial social work, nonviolent communication, and yoga, Shulamit brings a unique perspective and approach to supporting women in business. Shulamit, welcome.
Thanks, Amy. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah.
Speaking of feeling back to back as a women entrepreneur today, that is my day.
Yeah. It's very stressful to do it.
How's your week going?
This is a recovery week and also a new way of doing things week. And I have to say, I'm feeling, actually, as I say this to you now, I feel little tickles of excitement about it.
What's the new thing that you're doing?
I'm changing how I work. So I'm changing the pace at which I work. I'm changing the amount of tasks I assign to myself in a day. I'm changing the idea that empty space means, oh, I can do more work. So I can have spaciousness.
To do what? To feel what?
Well, what's coming to me is like when you have Jell-O in a container and then you take it out of the container, it just kind of spreads out, kind of Jabba the Hutt like. Well, in my mind, that's what happens.
Like it stays put, doesn't it?
I suppose it really does if it's really solid. Maybe pudding is a better example. I'm just kind of like going blah, 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 and just allowing myself to be the way. I don't know what will arise in the spaciousness. I do know, though, that when I leave time and space for myself, lots of inspiration comes, and I have a lot of thinking and writing to do. But I'm on purpose not making that space be for anything specific. I'm not assigning myself anything. I'm not having any expectations or any plans. I'm really just wanting the space so that I can see what will emerge in the space. This is as woo as I've ever been in my business.
And me being woo forward.
Yes.
Let's unlock the magic.
Yes.
What is woo for you?
My master's degree is in counseling and spirituality. I've had a sense of connection to Anuvan, which is the Welsh word for the other world, which is not the underworld, it's the other world. And to the Awen, which is also the Welsh word for the generative spirit, that we could say its home is in Anuvan, but it's not limited there. Ever since I was a little bitty girl, many of us, I think, when we were little children, had this sense of magic in their world. And then things happen, the world exerts its pressures on us, and some of us cave and some of us don't. And I didn't cave exactly, but I love the world of the intellect. So I got really into learning and those kinds of things. So I got injured when I was working as a translator and had to do my own occupational rehab. This was late in my life. I needed to do a job that would last me until I died, basically. And so out of concern for that, when I left my master's program, I dove right into business training. And instead of thinking of myself as, oh, I'm just a therapist, I started thinking about myself as a business owner and an entrepreneur, which of course leads to all kinds of systems and structures and ways of being that, well, I took a very structured, good student approach to all this. And it has served me well in the sense that I understand what I need to do. I'd had many other businesses. None of them really generated the revenue or had the life that I wanted them to have. So this one is doing all that for me. And after 12 years, I just finished my Saturn return on the 24th of May of this year. And I'm 61. I turned 61 on the 4th of June. And Jupiter now is moving into Cancer, right? It's all calling me to take the pudding, the yummy dark chocolate pudding that is me, out of the fridge and out of the container, out of the structures, and allow what wants to happen to happen. That's why no woo to this point in this way. Although there's been a lot of woo in how I work with clients, just not in how I structure my business. So this is a shift.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I'm one that definitely, from that 4 or 5 years old, I actually put away on a shelf all of my woo for, 35 years after that. And then when I turned 40 a few years ago, it all came rushing back without much of an option. So it's interesting. I'm currently going through the revamp of my website, copy, all that kind of stuff. Whereas it's this interesting turning point where I'm leaning more into whether it's woo or not. Here's how I coach, which as a coach, my modality is energy and my gifts are various clairs. So various psychic gifts that I'm always being able to read and be in tune with as I enter into sacred session with my clients. So it's, yes, I'm a certified coach and I have all these natural gifts that I won't be able to show you a degree for, but it's in me. And so it's having that balance. My copywriter calls it a woo balance. But honestly, the word even woo has been sitting with me because I'm like, is that disrespecting the ultimate playbook, which is nature and which is metaphysical and which is quantum and which is all things energy, which is really all of us as humans? I'm going all in on the fact that we are all energetic beings and molecules. And it's like, okay, if that's woo, that's your own limitation, not mine. Not yours, but like the person who has to like say woo or whatever.
I'm a bit of an iconoclast, even with my iconoclasm or iconoclasty, however it goes. So the thing I like about woo is that it holds it lightly. But at the same time, I recognize that in the dominant culture, woo implies judgment, right? It implies less than.
Or it says, in order to fit the mainstream, I have to kind of downplay my natural abilities to make you feel comfortable. So I've been sitting with that. I'm like, ooh, okay, all right. What's pinchy for me about that? So that's what's been interesting with mine. So, and I think what's interesting to your point about business overall, I set out starting my business 2.5 years ago, bucking the system so hard. I was like, I don't want to do anything that a standard business would do, so I really rejected that for a long time. And like everything, I don't subscribe to any extremes. I like to really find the midpoint in everything. And so now that I'm balancing out once again, and some things, because we're still in the systems that weren't designed with all of us in mind, some things to show up on the field, not even equal playing field, but just to show up on the field, you've kind of got to do. And I don't love that, but I feel through that no matter where I'm at.
Yeah. There's a universality of flavor to that experience. I think many people can resonate with that.
I think whether you're in a 9-to-5 or an entrepreneur or whatever you do to earn a living or support yourself in this world, to have the resources to live your life, none of it is necessarily easy right now. It's a weird time. It's a weird vibe. So I always try to encourage everyone. It's not that everything has to be good and light every single day, and try to find enough of your light every day so that you can create your own okayness in your own four walls, whatever that means for you, so that you can find a way forward and navigate from day to day. Otherwise, it doesn't serve any of us if those out here that are leading everybody or guiding or teaching or supporting, if we're not resting or relying on one another to find each other's light, it's hard to guide anyone through 100%. This wild time. So
yeah, we need to be resourced. We need to be resourced 100%.
Every coach needs a coach. Every therapist needs a therapist. Every teacher needs a teacher. Every guide needs a guide. And I'm finding myself at this interesting time where I'm positioning myself more as like the coach's coach, like a coach specifically. How's your energy? How's your vibe? How's your light? Helping you show up.
I have to say, working with entrepreneurial therapists who are practice owners, they're my favorite peeps just because there's so much, what's the word I would use? There's such an interlocking nature, like interlocking brick. Yeah, I think interlocking is a good word. We just see each other, We have the same frame of reference is another way of putting it, We recognize one another's reality and one another's challenges. And I love being a therapist for therapists who have businesses.
Ooh, that's a layer.
Yeah.
Because it takes a different type of support at any given moment, depending on how you're personally navigating not only being a business owner, but the ongoings of the world or your personal life any given time. So cool.
Yeah.
So Shulamit, what moves are you excited to be making right now? What's coming up for you besides
Besides that,
besides feeling into the woo of your business? Yeah.
well, to complete flip-flop, I just graduated from a major incubator at a major university in Toronto, so couldn't be more square. And I'm excited about that because there's something about being a round peg in a square hole and succeeding feels like a win. Because my business is not the kind of venture that's going to scale and be acquired and earn millions. But what I took to that incubator was my desire to work at the level of the entrepreneurial ecosystem, where exactly what we've been talking about, the human side or the natural as in natural, the creature side of the humans who are running businesses is completely overlooked with rare exception.
Mm-hmm.
And the women who come to me because they're in distress, I noticed that a significant proportion of their distress had to do with being a round peg in a square hole, right? Trying to be humans in a dehumanizing world, and especially a dehumanizing world of entrepreneurship and money. And so I don't want to collude with them in saying like, yes, it's all your fault, because it isn't. And actually part of the work we do comes from the trauma of money work that I've been trained in. The tagline is decrease shame, increase discernment. So identifying what systems, this is not mine, the shame belongs to the system, is part of the individual work. But then I feel an obligation to act at the level of the system as well. And this is what I went to the incubator for, because I have a program of care for founder mental health that can be integrated directly into entrepreneurship programs. And it's like my little fifth column, right? I use business language. I talk about mental health KPIs for the founder and how to know what your KPIs are for your own mental and emotional well-being, how to assess their performance, and how to develop strategies as a result of the information you get from assessing their performance. No different from the kind of check-ins that you and I do with ourselves, right? Where we pause and we connect. But I'm teaching people in a language that's accessible to them how to do that, how to connect with their humanity and care for their humanity in the midst of the noise of the square, straight entrepreneurial ecosystem, in the hopes that ultimately this will lead to change bit by bit, so that there's more humanity comes into the world and more humanity comes into entrepreneurship. And I'm psyched about that. Mainly because when I go to business programs to sell this to them, they're like, well, have you got any outcome data? And of course I don't yet. But when I made my pitch, after the pitch, a published academic author came up to me and said, the way to get published in an academic journal, one of the things they look for is previously published authors, and I'd be willing to co-author this study with you. And I'm like, yes. So that's one small step. There's a lot in getting a research project going, but I'm excited about the momentum in that direction.
That's beautiful. I am creating a day where a business can walk in to a funding meeting request without a pitch deck, without anything else.
Yes.
And the only thing they say to get the funding is because it's the right thing to do for humanity. And they get funded on the spot. That's what I'm creating. Wouldn't that be awesome if we got to that point?
That's absolutely how it should be.
And there's no questions, you just get funded, like an immediate transfer to your account.
Yeah. What a magical, what a beautiful future to be dreaming into.
Yeah.
There's an organization, I don't know if you know about it. Have you heard of Corylus?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So the reason I bring it up is not only because I think you would find it interesting, but I think the listener will also find it interesting. The website is corylus.world. And that's what they're creating, is an ecosystem of money and other energy that is a naturally self-sustaining, giving and taking ecosystem And what they want to do is create the system that will move in when this system fails.
Yeah,
So
because it
that it's
is.
ready. Yes, it's failing now. Yeah.
I think that's probably what's hard for a lot of people only in the 3D consciousness right now, the ones that are only considering the human experience. They're like, all of this can't happen. Well, actually, it must. It's all supposed to be coming down. We don't have to like the way it's going. We don't have to like
No,
subscribe to
no.
it. But
And
it just being aware that it must, it's supposed to be.
And as individuals, I think we need to relinquish our self-centered place. You know,
Yeah.
there are a lot of us who are flat out gonna pass from this physical incarnation in the course of this collapse. It's going to be painful and difficult for a lot of people.
Right,
It
right.
makes me think of Kali Ma, right? This is the age of the Kali Yuga. That's what's happening now.
Yeah.
And surrendering to the Death Mother is
Well,
like a really big deal. It's hard to
yeah,
do, and I think it's happening.
it is happening. And if you just simply allow it, and that doesn't mean that you aren't empathetic or compassionate toward yourself or toward humans that are feeling it
Mm.
also. Like if you really read the story about Kali Ma, yeah, she burned everything down. Well, do you
But
know
what
why?
for?
Yeah. Do you know
Yes,
why?
exactly.
And do you know what then was created then? And this is why I love, not that everyone has to subscribe to spirituality or like understand metaphysical or the universe or laws of attraction to work with me, and it's very helpful because when you have a larger understanding that simply humans are not in charge, that there's so much more, then you can start to understand and be able to respond to or meet and navigate through life rather than it all come crashing in onto you. And it just makes for a way more peaceful existence.
I agree. I agree. In my, turning 60 and having my second Saturn return, I've been doing a lot of work around the crone, and really coming into, really settling into, really embracing. Like, I'm not dead yet. I'm still living, but it is the dying phase of my life, right?
Mm.
And I mean, we've been dying since we've been born, but now I'm really feeling it. And finding a way, as you say, I used the word surrender. You used a different word. I don't remember what it was. To coexist with the reality of what's happening to my physical body. Like last year was awful.
Mm-hmm.
At my 60th birthday, I wanted it to be this glorious 60th thing where I had a croning ceremony and I was feeling great about myself. And last year was a terrible year for many reasons. But this year, I am feeling the way I had wanted to feel. But it took a year longer, another year's worth of work to be in this more peaceful place. Because, death is a passage and it's painful.
And it's not an ending.
No.
So depending on, again, what you subscribe to, and it's interesting because like humans assign time doesn't exist anywhere else. So it just all gets to be true at once. And it's mind blowing. If you try to, typically when I start working with my clients, they're so excited to rush the process of their remembering. Oh, please don't do that. It can be so overwhelming and so jarring because a lot of remembering that you're a multidimensional being, having a human experience, a lot of that process requires you to release your reliance on human, like material things or people or environments. And a lot of times that's a lot and that hurts,
It
or
is
like
a lot.
that's like really hard, or someone starts to reject it and then you want to go back and then you can't. It's like, so don't rush it. Take your time.
We have a saying in trauma therapy, less is more and slow is fast.
Mm.
And I think you're talking about what happens to the human nervous system, right? The nervous system that has been conditioned since birth that the world is a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it fights all the way. And so why would you want to create more distress and trauma for yourself by wanting to do the shedding faster than it's appropriate to do? Yeah.
Because then your nervous system, having a calm, restful nervous system, regulated nervous system, especially in this space and time, is I find one of the biggest luxuries. And depending on how close you are to the only human world, it might be harder and harder to create that or like to feel through that.
I just want to challenge what you said about having a regulated nervous system, because I actually don't think you can. I don't think your nervous system in these conditions can appropriately be regulated.
Wow.
I think it's a very dysregulating time. But that's not bad news. Because, I mean, there's the tyranny of the regulated nervous system. Go get regulated. Go sort yourself out. Stop bothering me with your upsetness, right? And I know you're not saying that.
Yeah.
But I really want to challenge the idea, because what I think is really called for is the knowledge and the skill and the community, not human community, but the whole community, to care for ourselves in our dysregulation. And I think that's really the thing now, is like, okay, like I can't be regulated. So how can I care for myself? Or you can't be. How can we care for you?
Oh, my entire goal every day is to calm my nervous system.
Yeah.
So it is an intentional practice that I do every single day. And I'm proud to say that I do actually regulate my nervous system every day, at least once a day. And the thing about it is, the biggest piece for me, the way that I do that, is discernment. The moment I feel my nervous system, and I feel it in my body immediately, it either happens in my solar plexus or my heart or my root chakras. And so various ways in which I handle that at that point, I get really still. I put on my weighted eye mask and I go in. I'm like, what just knocked me off? And I typically know. And then I do different exercises to recalibrate. So.
Yes. Well, you're pointing out to me that I was speaking in broad strokes.
No.
And when I said that, I was thinking about people who struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And holding, like, again, the tyranny of the regulated nervous system. And I think there's a role in which privilege plays also, right?
Oh, yeah.
For some folks, it's just not achievable.
I'm speaking from a point of luxury.
Yes.
And privilege. Like, I can do that. I have the privilege to do that. So it's considering both what you have capacity for, what on any level can you create your okayness? And that's going to be a very personal, unique.
I love that. Yeah, I'm going to say it back to you. Whatever you can do on any level to support your okayness. That's powerful.
I just breathed into that. It felt nice. Last night, my nervous system was immediately dysregulated when someone in my house knocked into something and it fell over.
Oh.
My listeners have known my story a lot, but for me, my first 40 years was a dysregulated nervous system for 40 straight years. So I know immediately what it feels like. And I know now.
Right, yeah.
So the bulk of my life, quote unquote, normal, has more so been in the dysregulation. So in this time and space, for some people, for many humans, this is like the first time they've felt a dysregulated nervous system. So we had privilege on different ends, I guess.
Yes. Amy, I'm so grateful to hear that story of your experience and of the truth for you, because it's nuanced. The whole thing is nuanced. And on the one hand, privilege makes it possible, but on the other hand, the possibility is out there and you're bearing witness to that possibility.
That's beautiful. The possibility. I feel from the collective, it's so hard to even get a glimpse of possibility these days. And it's so awesome when you get that glimpse, because then you're like, oh, okay, I can.
Yeah.
Which is really the most beautiful part about feeling into what you're here to do and also experiencing it as a human being. So.
Yes.
Amazing, Shulamit. I want to go to a post that you made recently that really resonated, and it has been interesting for me as I've been in my business for 2.5 years now. Have you ever felt drained by the meaningful work you do? The post is leaning toward another podcast episode you were on with Maria Bryan. And it's talking about in the episode, the emotional toll of holding space for other stories, simple, accessible nervous system care tools, which is what we were talking about, and then why your well-being matters just as much as your impact. The reason I love this is because oftentimes, and this depends on where I am in my own menstrual cycle, if I'm in my luteal phase, I feel this, my capacity to be able to be the fullest expression of me, which is my superpower, that is creating that space for others to find their own possibilities. I do experience good burnout. That's what I call it, good burnout. Is that similar to what you're talking about here? Or tell me about this post in this podcast episode.
Sure. Well, you should definitely have Maria on the show. That's for one
Okay.
thing. What she was responding to in her work as a storyteller and teaching people how to receive people's stories and then write them for them, she was observing that these folks had no training in being stewards of trauma, in carrying and caring for the impact of what they're hearing. And so I remember when I first started as a therapist, the style of therapy is person-centered, focusing-oriented therapy, which is really very transmissional. You don't learn a technique, it's transmitted from your teacher. And my teacher explained to me the difference between coming from the heart and coming from the mirror neurons, and how when we listen with the mirror neurons, I'm leaning forward, my forehead is all squinched up, it's intense, I'm like really listening, right? But when we listen in that way, we listen with our mirror neurons, which means that our body can experience versions of what we're listening to. Whereas when we listen from the heart, and I'm sitting back now, my shoulders are soft and down and open. My forehead is smooth. My eyes are open. My face is soft. Even those physical moves gives me access to a space here from which I can breathe in and breathe out, metaphorically speaking, right? Allow in and allow out whatever comes. Oh, I'm getting choked up. I'm just going to pause because I'm just feeling, for me, my spiritual practice involves engaging with a field of care, sometimes called a benefactor practice. And I'm just, as I'm talking about it, I'm feeling it, and it's bringing the nervous system release of plugging into like the love. But this was like 12 years ago or more when he told me this, so I didn't even have the benefit of the field of care practice at that time. I just wanted to name what was happening. And so when you can listen from here, you don't experience so-called vicarious trauma. When you can learn to listen from the heart or with the heart, and how also then to care for your own heart, then the work of listening, like for me as a trauma therapist, working with trauma survivors doesn't deplete me. It doesn't burn me out. And for Maria's clients as well, that when they know how to be within and from the heart, then they can really authentically be with the people with whom they are working, so that their true and authentic, deeply compelling stories can be told. And I wouldn't say that there's a good burnout from being with things in that way, but it does, like anything, walk into the grocery store, being with my beloved. We are humans, we have limited reserves.
What you just shared about the heart opening, what came up into my mind's eye was like us as the vessel while we're serving, and not having it land. And what I learned about myself is that I actually would forget that I'm the vessel, and I would ground into the energy, because I would feel something later in the day and I'm like, wait, this isn't mine. Whoa, what did I keep?
Yeah. These are calls to us from our insides, asking us for care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is. And I brought up my cycle earlier, and I name my womb. Everyone I work with, we end up naming our wombs at some point. July's been pretty brutal in terms of a lot of cosmic shifts, and all the work that I had been working so hard to heal from kind of came up. You know, when you see like comedy and somebody steps on like a garden hoe or something and it smacks them in the face?
Oh, yes. Oh, geez.
Every
Ouch.
single one of my older wounds did that. I'm watching myself, I'm observing myself, my energy field respond differently, which is the whole ask of why they're here, to see like what I'm up to. But at the same time, it's not necessarily fun, as you know,
No.
to human through those. But I've been sitting with my womb and sending her, while I'm in my bleed this week, sending her any of the edges or the sticky that I need to feel and then release into, just giving it to her so that she can bleed it out. And there's still going to be degrees of it inside me, but working,
Sure, yeah.
but I feel it. I feel it.
One of the things I'm sad about is that I did my blood work when I was like 30 years ago. You know, I was in my 20s and 30s. You had to mail order stuff. So like any contact with teachers that I had at the time was all by mail order. I found them in the back of a magazine. And so now when I hear you talk about your relationship with your womb, the relationship with your cycling, with your bleeding time, and with your sort of incubating time, I guess we could call it, you know. I feel sad because I have a wish that I could have lived in a time where I could have had teachers, because I was, I was painting with my blood and people thought I was crazy. I was going outside and allowing my blood to just flow and people thought I was nuts. And I sort of thought I was nuts, but I did it anyway. But it would have been nice. I would have, like, I just feel the parts of me now hearing that from you going, oh, we wish we had that too.
So many women I come across that have crossed over into postmenopause say the same thing. They wish they would have had that community, that space, because any container, any group container that I lead, we all talk about that. Like, I'm on day 25, I'm feeling this. Oh, I'm on day 7, I'm amazing. I'm day 17, I'm Randy. Like, we get to feel into it. And what I think the most beautiful part that I've been witnessing is that every single menstruator that bears witness and starts actively working with their womb space and their bleed, their whole cycle, their entire energy field shifts and they start creating the absolutely everything that they really, really want in life, because that's actually the epicenter of our entire creative and life force and vitality. So imagine when she feels supported after a lifetime of not feeling supported. And I'm gonna go way back. It's like way back to when first started my period. I was never able to say pad or tampon in my household. It was supplies because it was like embarrassing. Just stuff like that. Anyway, thank you for sharing that. And may your sacral chakra feel the vibration of all of us that do get to feel into and do the work with our active. Not that yours isn't active. It's like every person still
active
has
in a different way.
Active in a different way. Yeah. Shulamit, this has been such a great time so far. And as we start to wind down, I just want to ask you another question. Being the entrepreneur's therapist, what would you say to business owners, entrepreneurs, founders, and even the folks that are in like a more structured 9 to 5? Everybody seems to be feeling a pinch about how someone's earning a living is seemingly exponentially harder by varying degrees right now for whatever reason. What would you start to share with any of us to like give a glimmer of how you help create the okayness, even when we don't know when or how or if it's going to be okay?
Well, I have two answers. One is the one that I do with the majority of folks I work with, and the other one is the one that I do with people who come in with an orientation toward spirit. And I sense my way into what's right for who's in front of me, right? So I'm not going to impose. And they're not mutually exclusive either. But the first one is, what I see is so many people in hard times blame themselves. Why can't I navigate this? Why can't I figure this out? Why can't I do this right? What is the matter with me? This is a stupid idea, blah, blah, blah. And that in Buddhism is what we call the second arrow, right? You've got a pain in life. Something's painful because life can be painful. Humaning is painful. And then you shit on yourself. And the one thing you do have control over is your relationship to yourself. And so I invite folks to consider that when that kind of inner dialogue is arising, that it's an indicator that there's pain here, that things are hard, that you're having a hard time. Independent of any cause, there's the prior move of, I'm in pain. Let me say hello. Don't have to run around and make love to it, but say hello to the part of you that's having some pain. Like, oh, hey, little fella. Yeah, I see you there. I see that it's hurting right now. And like, no wonder it's hurting. This is like the next step that might feel right. Because like, look, what a dumpster fire. It hurts to live like this, right? It's inherently painful. And so you're going to be feeling painful. And there's nothing the matter with that. And that can create a little space, a little ease, a little warmth, a little tenderness, because the rest of it is relentless, right? You don't need more relentless from yourself. And that's the little glimmer of possibility or hope that you were talking about earlier, right? Is that tender turning toward your own little painful spot. And then if if a person has already got a practice or is already connected or oriented, I'll invite them. The nuance to this is next, locating yourself, remembering who you are. Like, not only is this little place not alone because you are with it, this hurting place, world is not a big enough word, of forces and beings who are loving forces and beings. And we are located in this field, like Rumi's field, out beyond ideas of right doing and wrong doing. There is a field, I'll meet you there. Or field like electric field, or field like force field, or web like a spider's web, a beautiful web. And we are in this. So not only is this painful part not alone, you are held. And that's a resource that they can, the remembering, it's another, I'm not the only way they remember this. They're autonomous. They don't need me. Mm-hmm. And the more reminders we get, oh yes, I'm held. It's there. There's a field of forces helping me with this.
Yeah.
The more reminders we have, the better it is for us, the more helpful. And the more glimmers there are, the more possibility there is. So that's my two-phase answer.
Oh, that's beautiful. Shulamit, where can we find you?
My website is shula.ca, shula.ca, CA because it's Canadian. And if you want to hang out with me, my newsletter, shula.ca/newsletter, is where all the podcasts I'm on. So folks who sign up will get notice when this episode is released, but also where I do my thinking and writing about these kinds of things that we've talked about today for deeper conversations than can be had on social media platforms.
Closing remarks as we wrap up.
This is what I say. This is kind of like my thing. And I said it a little bit before. I'll come back to it. There's nothing wrong with you. For when you're suffering, and this is the thing, when we're suffering, we think there's something the matter with us. And really, truly, these are hard times. And business owners, especially right now, are doing hard things, high demand, high stakes work. And that's hard. And just because you're feeling that, that's how we would expect that you would be feeling under the current circumstances. Your feelings are valid. There's nothing wrong with you.
Thank you, Shulamit.
Thank you.